Welcome to the Wellness Business Success Secrets Summit. I am here with Robert Verhouse. I have to tell you, he's got a nickname. It's the Fireman Rob, which he will definitely explain to us where that comes from and why he has the reputation that he has. But Rob, you're a very compelling speaker, and you're a storyteller. You deliver a high energy and engaging presentation on overcoming adversity, and you inspire people and helping them identify their blind spots and preventing them from taking their personal and professional lives. You get them to take their lives to the next level, and you're very good at keeping people on track. So, and you learn this from being in the Air Force, which I can see that, having systems in place and staying on course with people, it just comes naturally when you've gone through the Air Force. But then you're also a veteran firefighter. And what's really intriguing, and I want to hear more about, is you were at Ground Zero 2 days after 9/11 hit. And I know that the majority of us, we can remember exactly where we were on September 11th at about 9 a.m. We know exactly what we were doing. And that event was life-changing for everybody. And I would love to hear the different inspirations that came from that, too, on overcoming obstacles and overcoming things. So I can't wait to hear more about that. But then your clients include the United States ATF, Timex, Kraft, and Ironman. And what's so, I'm just like overwhelmed. You run the Ironman in full fireman gear. That's crazy. Has anyone told you that you're nuts?
Oh, I love it. I take it as a compliment. If you're like everybody else, that means that you're not a thought leader, an impact leader, that you're not treading on ground that nobody's been on before. That's the best part about it.
Right. I mean, I've met people that have done the Ironman, but not in firefighter gear. I mean, that's crazy, insane. That's just amazing is what that is.
It's one of those things where I always tell people that your strength is in your passion. That's something that from the start that I came up with. And it's so true because realistically, I even look back at it and I go, that's nuts. Why would I even do that? How did I even do that? I mean, now I walk my dog around the block and it's tiring. And so I looked back and I was like, I don't even know how I did it. But realistically, I just go back to that. My passion has led me down this path. And when you are so passionate about something, the purpose is that driver. It's amazing the things that you can do. And so many people miss out on life because they never even look for their passion. They never even try to identify it because it's scary.
Yeah, well, it's hard to define it for some people. And so do you help people realize what their passion is through a certain process?
Yeah, so realistically, a lot of the things that I do, and this is always funny because people, the things that I talk about passion. So if I was going to ask you if you could list the top 3 passions in your life, what are the things really that you would die for? That's what you have to ask yourself, because those are what passions are. Some people have like different little like I want to make money, and that's not really something that you would die for. I wouldn't die for a car, would you? I mean,
no.
I don't. No. I mean, they all have 4 wheels. They all have a steering wheel, hopefully, but you have to really define what it is that you're passionate about, and I think that's what our driver is. And so many people don't take the time. They just go through the process of, well, I've got to go to college. And I get out of college, I get a job, and I have to keep that job so I can keep my house and I can keep my kids going to things that they want to do. And then I get to the end and I'm dead. And I never really found out what I wanted to do because you know what? It was too scary for me. And the things that have led me to where I'm at to find my passion is I got out of my comfort zone. At 23 years old, like you said, I went to Ground Zero. At 23 years old, you're not supposed to see those kind of things. We have a lot of military individuals that are going over into war that come back and they just don't know who they are. And there's a lot of times it's those moments. It's those moments when you're at your lowest, when you're at your darkest moments. That's when you have to take the perspective of what do I love to do? Because that's what's going to drive you forward.
Right.
And that's, for me, that's what it's been consistently. And it's led me to where I'm at right now, which is amazing.
Well, I'm excited where you're at and what you've accomplished and what you've done, because I have to share with you that my life was saved by a firefighter. So I totally admire everything that you're doing, because when I was not 23, but I was 19, I was hit by a drunk driver right here in Madison, Wisconsin, where we are, while crossing the street. But what saved my life was a firefighter. This is at 2:30 in the morning, and you know what happens at 2:30 in the morning on University Avenue.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There was a woman driving .28,
Oof.
and she was going 60 miles an hour down University Avenue and hit me right in my knee as I was crossing the street. And I flew up 10 feet through the air and landed right on my head. And what saved my life was there was a fire truck right at the stoplight there at the corner, and they watched me rolling in the street. And they were dialing 911 the moment I hit the pavement. And they were right there immediately. And who knows what would have happened, but it's amazing how I'm sure you've seen miracles, and I'm sure you've experienced very life-threatening, obviously, experiences, but that's when your passion is defined, like you said, is when you lose something so important to you. And when I came out of the coma and I was back at my mom's house, I knew what I wanted to do with my life. And I knew that it was going to be changing other people's lives or having some sort of positive impact because life is so precious. And I knew that I was not going to settle for anything less than an A because I was just starting college. And
Yeah.
there was nothing that was going to stop me because I was like, oh my gosh, I can walk. I can go outside and I can smell a flower. I wouldn't have been able to do that. If I had hit the pavement any harder, I would be totally paralyzed on my left side. So taking the things that we have and not taking it for granted, you see things in such a different perspective because of what you've seen. And so when it comes to the 3 keys and the 3 failures in creating your passion and helping people identify who they are personally, whether it be their brand or whether it be them finding the right path for themselves, how do you do that? And what is the process with that?
So realistically, the biggest thing for people to do is first sit down and be with yourself. In essence, you have to have great self-talk to find your passion, and that's one of the first things that you want to do is have that talk with yourself. Be real with yourself, and find out what you truly love. It could be 20 things that you write down to start off with,
Right.
and from there, now you've started your blueprint of who you are. The next step is to actually put down, along with what you've written down, how you're going to actually maintain that or accentuate those passions. How do you live those? Because that's the thing, is we identify it, then we have to actually write it down to actually make us accountable for what it is. But then you have to map it. And that mapping process is huge because a lot of people don't even get to that step to find out where they're going to go. And then the last thing that you do, and this is revolutionary, I've created it myself,
All right.
is you live it.
Really?
Oh, I mean, I made it. It's
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
But
I mean,
you'd be surprised at how many people put something down on paper, but they don't execute it.
You're right.
And they
How
don't
many times
find
have you driven, like, let's say you're going from Wisconsin to Florida. Do you just go, well, I think I'm going to take that street? No, we put in our GPS, right? We map out how we're going to get there. So why is it any different going to Disney World? You know, why do we map out going there, but we don't map out what we want to do with our lives?
Right.
I don't know.
Well, let's say we do map it out, and let's say something falls right in the path, like a tree.
Right.
You know, how do you help people overcome that the path has changed, and so you need to, you know, keep your eye on the prize, on the end result. But then now, how do you overcome, like for example, when 9/11 hit, we didn't plan that, and we all had our map.
No.
We all had an idea, but that totally transformed with things that were out of our control. So how do you get people to overcome what we can control and what we can't?
And that's probably the most enjoyable part of this whole thing is, you know, I call it the journey. It's nothing revolutionary, but I call it your journey. And along the way, you have to enjoy every single moment of that journey to actually engage in the content, in the context of what your life is becoming. And those obstacles, because even in the joys, you know, we have to look at the joys and we gotta go, oh, that was a really good feeling. I have to keep that inside myself. So when I get those dark moments, I have to take away from those dark moments the positives. So kind of give you an idea on 9/11. So it was about the 5th day I was there, and I had walked off the pile because I was just tired. I was tired. I just needed a break. I wasn't walking anywhere in particular. I was just walking down the road. I just needed time, space. And this lady comes up to me, and she's holding this it's like a chicken. It's like a cooked chicken, you know those ones that you get at the gas stations? And she hands it to me, and she says, I don't have a lot of money, but I just wanted to help in whatever way I could. I bought 3 of these, and this is the last one. I want you to have it. It was unbelievable. And I took it, and I was just standing there, like, just dumbfounded, because my mind wasn't working right, and I just didn't really understand and she started walking away, and, like, all of a sudden I looked up, and I saw her walking away, and I was like, thank you. And she turned back, and she just waved and walked away, and I was just like, that's one of those moments that I carry forward with me as a positive of that 9/11 moment. You know, there's a lot of negative thoughts, and there's a lot of evil thoughts that run through my brain about 9/11. But that moment, that's the kind of positives that you have to take out of it. There's always going to be a positive, like your story. You know, with the firefighters were right there to save you, to move you forward. You could look at it as like, gosh, drunk drivers, I can't take this, and you could have went down that path. But you have to engage in your journey and choose the positive path. Choose the path that's going to actually get you to where you're going to go. Because a lot of times we want to get to a certain point, but we're going to have to go over here and over there and over there and over, you know, all these different spots. And we just have to be productively adaptable to be able to move there. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people have to, you're living your own life. I can't tell you exactly how things are going to come out. And that's what always frustrates people. It's like, well, tell me like the 2 secrets that you have. And it's like, I just know who I am. And that's the biggest thing, is that first step of having that self-discussion, that self-talk with yourself, to find out who you are. Because that's what's going to get you through there. I can give you 3 steps. But unless you know, it's kind of like cooking for me. I'm very good when I cook, like the macaroni and cheese. It says, you know, put in the microwave, put water in it, and at 330. But you put filet mignon, oh, it's all over. I can't figure it out, you know. But it's those little simple processes that, you know, you have to try it yourself. You have to know yourself to be able to get through those hurdles.
Right, and you have to do it. I mean, you have to start, because I'm going to hold my hat on this one, is you can't correct course standing still. I mean, you have to be in movement, and that's what gives you momentum. And the one thing that, I mean, just to go back, the path I chose, and I chose it naturally when I got hit by the drunk driver, and, you know, I experienced a very near-death experience, was I chose to celebrate. I chose to celebrate life rather than to dwell on all the death that could have happened. And that just came, it's a natural instinct. And I don't know why or where it came from, but it's part of, you know, people's DNA. And so if we were to talk about the customers that you work with and what they're programmed with, because they have their DNA, but then they have their old programming, and how you get them to break through that so they can be to their next level, how do you help them, besides just telling them, you know, what needs to happen, but how do you get them to stop that pattern, those unsuccessful patterns, so that they can get to the next level?
Excuses?
Yes.
I mean, well, I'll tell you the first part. The first part is just, like, I'm a normal person. I have 3 kids. I have a job that I've been at for, you know, with firefighting. I don't have any superhuman skills. I'm just a normal person. And the things that I've done, and that's a lot of times what I like to preface is, you know, I got a Guinness World Record for the most number of Ironman 70.3s in 1 year while wearing all firefighter gear for the run portion.
How many?
Only 23.
Only 23. Okay.
Yeah, I beat a guy that wore just the cool spandex, you know, that doesn't leave anything to the imagination. But it's stories like that. It's like I'm not meant to do that. I'm not a triathlete. My coach says I look more like the bear at the circus on that bicycle than I do a triathlete. So, I mean, it's one of those things. If you put your mind to it, and that's the hardest thing, is that people have to sit down and understand that their limitations are put on by themselves. There's nobody else sitting here putting limitations on what you are capable of doing.
Right.
You can use that excuse. That's fine. But at the end of the day, that's an excuse. And so realistically, my whole approach to going to individuals is one, I want them to start to understand themselves because we are all different people. You can, I just put out a post today on, I was running and I was thinking about this and they, you know how successful people, they always put out in Forbes and Inc. and they say the most successful people, they wake up at 5:30 in the morning and they do this and they do that. And you have all these people that are trying to mimic what makes somebody else successful.
Mm-hmm.
I hate waking up in the morning. I wake up at like 8:30 if I can. But am I not successful?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm successful. And that's the funny thing is that we are so ingrained as a society to follow what other people do to make ourselves successful instead of just finding our way, finding our path.
Mm.
You know, you go back to the simple roots of, you know, like Magellan and Christopher Columbus and all these other people that were just went out there and found stuff. They charged their own path. They went on their own journey. And so really I challenge people. That's the best way to find, I mean, you probably know this with the program that you have, is that I can give you tips and tricks and everything like that, and we have those. But at the end of the day, if I can really seed myself right in your mind and challenge you and knock on your brain every once in a while and say, hey, are you doing it? Hey, what are you doing? Are you going down the right path? That's really what the whole goal is to have people take away 1, 2, 3 pieces of my story and incorporate and say, hey, he can do this. I can do this. This is not rocket science. When I tell you put passion into action, that's my one of my big things is
I love that.
passion into action is you have to understand it, you have to write it down, you have to map it, and you have to live it. It's really simple. It's really simple. We try to make it so complicated, but it's really, really simple. And it's funny because always people are like, well, it has to be more complex. You have to give me more. And I'm like, I can't give you any more because I can't tell you what your passion is. I can keep asking you what it is, but until you believe it, nothing's going to occur.
Right.
So
you feel it, and you have to feel it. It comes from within the heart. And
right.
You have to decide what hurts when you think about not having it. Does your head hurt or your heart hurt? And that's where you'll know where it's coming from.
Great analogy.
Yeah, I love that. So with your customers, with your experience, and if you were to give advice to others about their customers and making them so that they're long-term and devoted customers, what is your philosophy on that?
My philosophy on, because really realistically it's funny because Walt Disney World they consider their customers guests. Mm-hmm. That's the way I like to philosophize it is those are my guests, and how do you entertain your guests at Christmas, at Thanksgiving, and all these times? You want to make sure that they're having a good time, right? Mm-hmm. It's an authentic, genuine good time. Mm-hmm. And that's really when you're looking at a business model, and you're trying to maintain guests and grow guests, is really they're looking for an authentic, genuine messaging. They don't want to. There's so many things out there with the internet nowadays, and with social media and everything out there, is that people want to have something that's genuine. And I think to have that those long-term guests at your business, you have to look at it in the way of not what can you deliver to them, but what is the problem that they have that you are solving. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So your messaging really has to be catered more towards the individual than saying, hey, I teach mental strength. It's such a great program, everything like that. No, I have to sit and go, well, Jasper, what are the things that you're dealing with? What are the things that you're dealing with in your business? What are you dealing with in your personal life? How can we associate what I'm doing to be able to help you, to make it better? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But that's the genuineness that people want. It's not out there anymore. Mm. People are so fearful that they have to I've got to get this person to make that money. If you are genuine in your approach, if you're genuine in how you're running your business, the people will come.
Yeah, I agree. Being completely authentic and being transparent too, because if you act like you're something that you're not, people are going to see right through it, and that's where you're going to find yourself being in. There's going to be problems because people are going to call you on it, and then you're going to look like you lack integrity or that you're just dishonest. So yeah, No, I love that. So, and then how do you deal with, because obviously in order to have success, you have to have failure. And I mean, that's just my philosophy. And I call those, I don't call it failure, actually, I call it opportunities of improvement. You
Love it.
know?
Love it.
So, when you deal with constant failures and build with building a business, and how do you keep that positive attitude and how do you keep the momentum going so that you can continue down that path,
Right.
even though the direction may change a little, but how do you keep the inspiration going?
Right. You know, and it was always funny. Somebody says always, so how, as a motivational speaker, and I call myself more of an impact speaker than a motivational speaker, and
Ah,
say, how do you motivate the motivational speaker? And it's like, well, if you're not motivated by what you're doing, you're not, you shouldn't be in it. But realistically, like, to get past failures, we do actually what's called an approval addiction seminar, and it's something that most people don't understand. Approval addiction is full fledged at age 21. I mean, think about it when you're a kid, and you tug on your parents' sleeve to get a toy. You do it consistently, and you do it consistently, and then you get the toy, and it's like, oh, so if I do this, then I get this in return. And it's no different than approval. As we get to be adults, we are so turned off by the negative aspects. So like when you're prospecting for new guests, right?
yeah.
And you make 10 calls, right? And you get 8 no's and 2 maybes. Are you going to make 10 more calls? Probably not. Why? Because you didn't have the approval to make those 10 more calls. You are so put off. You're like, I don't want to take another negative. I don't want another negative. So now how do you get past that? Well, in the military and also in firefighting, you have what's called compartmentalization. So what I do is I separate myself from the need of approval, and I go with my task. And so in other words, it takes training. It takes understanding of what your purpose is. If my purpose is to get close 10 prospects in a day, I need to focus on that and not that I didn't get 45. And too often people are focusing on the 45 and not focusing on the 10, so they'll never get the 10. And so realistically, for the failures in your business, you're going to have them. Those are great. And I love that you said opportunities, because that's totally what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's an opportunity to learn how to make that next call successful. What did I do in this call? Why did that person not like that? Did I not approach them in a manner in which I was solving their problem? I was just giving my solution. So realistically, it's over and over. You have to put yourself in that situation. Just like we were talking about earlier, if you want to get better at dealing with negatives, you got to put yourself in that situation of dealing with negatives.
Mm-hmm.
Be okay with it and move on. If you have to talk to yourself, like we talked about before, the self-talk, then do it. Figure out a slogan of when you get a no, say, well, next one will be a yes. Get another no, next one will be a yes. If you say that over and over and over, you're going to start to believe yourself.
Right.
And it's such simple things, and it's so funny we make it so complicated. But it's such simple little steps that make us successful or not successful.
So when we create that goal of, okay, I need to get 10 clients, and in order to get those 10 clients, I'm probably gonna have to make 45 calls. Do we just try to meet the numbers, or is it the quality of the 10 that we're looking for? Because we can get 10 really crappy clients,
Right.
just to meet that
Oh,
number,
yeah.
or and we can get them really fast. By cutting our prices and by, just kind of opening up like, okay, take everything you got. I'll give you the whole farm just so I can make that 10. Or do we really become clear on the type of people we want to work with? Because that's what's going to empower us and move us forward, and not just settle for just any 10, but the kind of 10 that we want to work with. I mean,
And
how
that
do you get people to not just settle for less?
and that's the next level. That's the next level is once you're not worried about the disapproval, once you're not focused, your focus is not on the money. Like we were talking about before. Once your focus is not on the money, but it's on the quality of what you're delivering.
Right.
And I've fallen into this trap too, is that a lot of people are probably saying, well, we got to have money to run a business. I totally agree. And I've fallen into that trap of, I've got to get more money to run the business because otherwise it's going to close. But realistically, at the end of the day, if your product is not of quality, it doesn't matter how much you get out there, you're not going to have the return customers like you were talking about, the return guests. And so realistically looking at it from an approach of you have to how do I put this? It's that mental resilience and just for you have to have set out there. I always don't like the numbers thing. I gave that as an example, but
Right.
realistically, you have to look at it as a bigger, more broad goal of, I don't just want to sell widgets. I want to change the widget market. Um, Looking at it from that perspective, a lot of people, like I do, I want to make 50 calls today, but I don't give myself what the achievement is. I just want to make 50 calls. And so a lot of times your achievement is in, like you're saying, the quality customers. I don't need to make 10 prospects, turn over. I just want to make sure that I'm getting the right people in the door. And that's exactly what you're saying, is that too often we do the quantification of it, and a lot of people love that. You have those personality things like, oh, what personality am I? Well, you're you. Do you need a number? Do you need you're a red, or you're a T or an L? Who cares? That's congratulations. You've been lumped into a big group. Be yourself. And I think that's the one thing at the end of the day. The businesses that are succeeding, you look at like a Google, you look at Amazon, all these other businesses that are succeeding are constantly changing with the adapting environment and are not putting on the stringent requirements of quantification or anything like that. They are actually just going out there and saying, what do we need to solve? Whose problem is that, and how are we going to solve that one? And I think that's the best way to run a business.
Yeah, I agree. So can you share with me, since you're the goal-oriented, next level venture, what's your next biggest goal that you're trying to achieve right now?
Oh gosh, it just came to me today. It was, I've always wanted to, I want to go out there and impact people's lives, and I do mental toughness training, and I do keynote speaking and things like that. But the next level for me is with 3 kids. When my kids were growing up, there was nothing out there that really taught them about respect or discipline or passion or commitment, anything like books, like a curriculum that was out there for them. So my next adventure, and this could take some time, but at the same time I want to get it done because I think it's so valuable, is putting out a curriculum as well as books that deal with those, that it's factual, true stories from individuals, everyday individuals, but simple reads. And realistically, I'm not trying to make money off of it. I want to just impact the society because it needs to be out there. So, I'm throwing around the idea of having the books cost $1,
Nice.
things like that. But that's the impact that will create bigger things in the future. But it's something that I see is badly needed in today's society.
Yeah, I would love to see that. My sons too. So you'll have to get it in board book version also.
Oh, totally. That's what I read. No novels for me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh gosh, that would be huge. So just explain to me, why do you do what you do? What's your inspiration? Besides touching, moving, and inspiring people, I mean, what is it within your core that gets you up in the morning, even though it's 8:30, but it gets you up saying, "Woo! Yes, this is what I'm doing."
What's funny, and like I'm always very transparent with people. Is like there's days where I don't want to get up. Like honestly, I mean, in all reality, like this is me. I'm having a great day. But there's days that I don't have great days, and there's days that I'm down, that I question what I'm doing, that I don't think I can do it. But I always go back to that whole thing of what is your passion? If you can identify every morning, and yes, it will change. If I had my same passions that I had when I was 10, I would be at the swim pool in my Speedo playing jumping off the diving boards. And that's really not realistic for a 39-year-old now. I mean, especially in a Speedo. So you look at the perspective of, realistically, if you can always have your passions close to your heart and understood that you'll constantly be moving forward to something that's greater. And I think that's the biggest thing that just keeps me moving is I love life. I had give you a kind of a weird, sad kind of story. So I was diagnosed with PTSD, and I was going to a therapist, and I'd went through a ton of therapists, and I just recently had found one that was good, and um, I was going there, and I'd always tell him the same stories just to get him off my back, to have him leave me alone. And this one was different because I got to the end of what I said, and he goes, "Okay, so now that you've told me all that crap, tell me the real stuff."
I love it.
I was like, "What?" And he repeated it, and I was like, "Okay, I'll give him a little more." And then it was probably about 30, 45 minutes later that I had just spewed everything that I had needed to for a long time, but had never felt comfortable enough to do it. And at the end, he goes, "Rob, I want to tell you something. I know you can handle this." And this is probably going to shock a lot of people that a therapist will do this, but this one knew what he was doing. He's like, "I'm just amazed that you haven't killed yourself yet."
Nice.
But at that moment, I knew, I was like, I love this guy.
Mm-hmm.
That is the truth. That is the truth moving forward. And it's like, I love life. And it was like that he had validated that this is my being, my moving forward every single day, even though carrying this huge burden, that validated even more what my purpose was. It's just like you. I mean, it's no different than you going every day and going, "I'm not angry. I'm happy." You're going to have your bad days, but you're going to have great days because you know why you're there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you can't get much better than that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm happy I can walk, and that's enough for me. And then that gets everything else just moving forward. And then, so we have our stories, we have our scripts in our head that usually are not propelling us forward. But if all of us recreated that story, because we can always recreate our stories,
Right.
and we can create a story that does propel us forward and get us to that next level. We start saying those stories, and then we start repeating those stories to others. So then we start living them, like you said. I love that. So you just made the light bulb go off. Did you see that in my head go, woo?
I saw it. It got brighter on your end.
That's right. So what's the one thing that none of us know about you? That
About
we're
me?
not going to see on your resume. We're not going to see it in your PR kit. We can only hear it from you from right now today.
I think everybody sees me as an inspiring person and somebody that's always happy and moving forward. And realistically, that's not always true. And I think that touched on it just a few seconds ago, but I think realistically, like, I've been lost in my journey, even as Fireman Rob. There's been times I've wanted to quit. There's been times I've wanted to stop and just not do it at all, because it's challenging to race and at the same time talk to people and be cheery. I mean, that's probably the hardest part of my whole thing is, and not know if I can actually finish these races, and have, there's always going to be people that are going to doubt you and doubt your story and doubt what you do and everything and I've had that happen too, and it's hard. It's hard, I mean, to have somebody go, "Oh, what you did wasn't true," or what you're doing isn't inspiring. You're just doing it because of that. I think the one thing that most people don't realize is that I'm human too, and I have a lot of bad days, and that it's okay to have those. I think now you get me all choked up.
No, it's good stuff.
I think it's important for people to understand that, because all they see is success. You look on Facebook, all you see is success, and we went on a great trip, but truly that is not life.
No,
that is not life. Richard Branson did not get to where he was without having a ton of failures. Tony Robbins, they're not selling out all their seminars now, and there's all sorts of different things that you look at in life, and you look at, I want to get to that pinnacle. I want to make $1 million. I want to have 500,000 customers or followers. But the struggles that it takes to get to that point, you have to be willing to do. And there's a, I love this because passion. So the root word of passion in Latin is pati,
Mm.
and it means to suffer.
Mm.
And I've done a lot of that in the last years, being able to get to where I'm at. And it's it continues to be a struggle, but it's a struggle worth taking.
Yeah, it makes you stronger and it gets it to that next level that we keep talking about. And I love
Exactly.
it. I love it.
Exactly.
You break through that. So I just have one more question for you, and that is there anything that you have not said that you would love to say? I mean, because if I could ask you your theory on resistance, because what I get a lot that really just annoys me is when others are so resistant on moving forward to that next level. And I feel that happens more than not, where people have their excuses, like you said, I call it excuse-itis, but they stop, and they stop right when they're right ready to get to that next level, and they resist.
Right.
So, what is your, if you could add one more thing about that?
I would say the biggest thing, and I've found this to be probably one of the biggest assets, is like you said, it's getting to that 1 yard line and not wanting to go into the end zone. And why do you think that is? It's fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's fear. If I get there, am I going to be depressed? Andre Rison, after they won the Super Bowl, right? The Packers won the Super Bowl. He said the next day was the saddest day of his life
Hmm.
because he didn't know what he was going for.
Hmm.
So, with that being said, one of the most valuable things you can do for somebody in that circumstance is tell them it's okay. I understand you're scared. And if you don't want to go through with it, that's okay. But what if you did?
Mm-hmm.
What if you did? Don't you have a little, just an inkling thought of what could happen? And is it going to hurt you at the end of the day if that doesn't succeed? I
Mm-hmm.
know you're strong enough to do another one. It's being able to give them an out, but also at the same time giving them the strength to do it themselves. We can't enable people to push that last yard.
Mm-hmm.
We have to give them the power to do that themselves. And I think that is, it's empowering. Whether it's men, women, any kind of ethnicity, to empower somebody, you have to give them the ability to make that choice themselves as an individual, not as a group. I think that is the most powerful tool that you can use in pushbacks. And the people that want to, you're never gonna. This is a business thing, but in business, the top third, right, is always gonna be the top third. They're hungry. They always want to be better. The middle third is the ones that are looking for something new. They're scared, but they're looking. The bottom third, there's a third of the people that are never going to do anything. They just don't want to. They don't want to. We'll never convert them ever. And people get so frustrated about that. But it's that middle third. If you can change that middle third, think of any business you want. Their Salesforce. If you could change that middle third to have this world-class mindset, this I won't give up. I'm happy for life. If you could change their mind, think of the return on investment. Think of that for just kids and school. And I think we're giving them the opportunity to succeed on their own terms
Mm-hmm.
with support from somebody who says, do it or don't do it. It has no basis on me. I'm just giving you the opportunity to succeed.
I love that. I love that. Okay, I'm gonna say one more thing because you keep on these light bulbs keep coming on.
I love it.
So back to ground zero, which was really a dark experience, we could say, but there's always light where there is no darkness, and we can always eliminate darkness with light. So I'm going to do a little spin on that whole theory. What's
Yeah.
the funniest thing that happened to you while you were there at ground zero?
Well, most people wouldn't find this funny, but I did. So I think it was the third day I was there. We had worked like 22-hour shifts. They had recliners on the side street that you could sleep on, but you just wanted to go. You wanted to be in there. And I had walked off the pile, and I was going to the porta potties, and I was in front of this huge skyscraper that was still standing, but it had rebar in it, and the windows were all shot out. And I walked into the porta potty, and I had a jumpsuit on, so I had to unzip it. Big production to actually go to the bathroom.
Sure.
I sat on the porta potty. I walked out, and as I'm walking back out to my work area, I peed my pants.
Oh,
I was so tired. I actually had convinced myself that I had peed. I walked out and I peed my pants.
no. Then what do you do? Then how do you overcome that?
The brain is crazy. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, most people are like, "Oh, that's so sad." I'm like, "No, it's actually kind of funny."
It's funny. Oh gosh, I
Yep.
just got to have one of those kind of sense of humors. But
Oh yeah.
that's good. I love it. So you have, with that note, you also have a free gift that you're offering to our viewers. And so, could you share with us what you're going to allow people to have access to?
Well, you know what? I'm actually going to put together a white paper for
Okay.
people to understand how to follow their passion,
Nice.
and put their passion to action. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest things. You know, it's interactive. So in other words, you have to take ownership of it. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing for people. Once they take ownership of their passion, possibilities are endless. And so,
Yes.
so that'll be available for them. And I love it. And feel free. My email is, if they go to my website, they can email me with any information that they want to have more of, because I'm always open to it.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Well, thank you so much. That was so enjoyable. And thank you for inspiring me just by this talk. All these light bulbs going off. I love it. So good
I
job.
love it. Thank you.